Now that you understand the fundamentals of the volley and that you've gone out and really put some time and effort into working on those fundamentals, let's talk about how to actually aim widthwise of the court. So what I mean is how to aim towards this cone over here and how to aim towards this cone over here. And it's all about where your racket face is pointed. So as Ian likes to say, the face sends it, the path bends it. Meaning the racket face, wherever it is faced, is where the ball is going to go. So if your racket face is faced down here, the ball will always go down. Doesn't matter if you do some loops and craziness back here, but if you hit the ball with it this way, the ball will go down. If my aim is way back here, the ball will always go that direction. Wherever it is faced is where the ball is going to go. So I know that sounds simple, but there's so many times that people make all these other adjustments when really it's all about where the racket face is. So what we're going to do is we're going to start about midway between the service line and the net, and we're going to work on understanding where our racket needs to be able to achieve hitting the ball cross court and the ball down the line here. So the first thing I want to talk about is how much you take your racket back. Because if I'm aiming at this cone here, the down the line cone, the cone that's to the right of me, then the biggest mistake I always see is people taking their racket back further because they're turning more and then they're hitting the ball back in this direction. I cannot see my racket. I have no idea what's going on. You're going to shank a lot of pulse. So the goal is that, again, I just keep my the frame of my racket in line, the edge, in line with my chest, and I'm just turning. Now, the goal is that I'm going to make sure that my face of the strings is facing towards that cone. Now, that might mean that I need to turn my body a little bit more. That might mean I need to keep my racket obviously a little bit open because you do have to get it up over the net. If my racket is facing down, as I showed you before, the ball will go down, and we obviously don't want it to bounce on the same side of us. So to make it go over the net, we do need to have it open a little bit, but you don't have to be turned all the way back here, because remember, the ball will go wherever the strings are faced. So keep it very, very simple and to where you're just trying to control the strings towards your target. Now, if I don't do anything, and I just stop the swing as we did in the very first module there, then the ball is still going to go that direction. But if I now want to get it towards the target, I'm going to have a little bit of guide after my absorption, after it recoils. Not a lot, but a nice soft control. I mishit that a little bit.
Sorry.
That's right. So I'm trying to get out there. Now, stance and the exact angle of your shoulders, all of that plays a role. But I really just want to focus in on the racket face right now. So now let's talk about if I were to aim cross court. So if I want my strings, like we talked about, to face the target, I'm going to have to make contact way more in front than I were if I was going down the line, which is a little bit further behind. So to do that, I'm going to take the ball out in front earlier to be able to generate the ball going that direction. Again, you could do it with just letting the ball come off your strings. The ball will go that direction. But to get a little bit more towards the target, I'm going to guide my racket there after the recoil process. It's all about going towards your target. Now, one of the biggest things you want to do when you're working on this is pick a cone and stay focused on it for, anywhere from 5 to 10 balls where you're really focusing in on that target. And try to really get it as close as possible. So if I happen to aim way out in front and I hit it way over there, that's a lot of deviation from where my target was. So I really want to make sure that I'm honing in right on that target and that I'm able to get 3 or 4 in a row within a foot or so of the target before I start changing the direction. Once you can do that at both targets, then you can start to manipulate going like maybe 1 or 2 to this side and then taking it to the next side, going 2 here, there, and then alternating to where I'm going one this direction and one that direction. And the more you work on it, the better you're going to get at it. But the goal is to not go out and be like, okay, I'm gonna start over here and then over here, and then wonder why you're having trouble working on the rack face. It's all about really, really precise aiming and targeting, and really thinking about where you're making contact. So if you're doing this back and forth and you get to where you're deviating from your target, take it back down a notch and just focus in and really get a few that are really within a foot of the target. That's how you're really gonna see the improvements on your volley.